I don't think people should be punished for acquiring a better entry point on something, right? So like
Hmm.
anybody could go buy a really expensive card right now that's way over market value. I don't think they should necessarily be rewarded for that just because they're spending a lot of money with candy. I really hope that we're going to value people's collections and not just the
Hmm.
money that they spent on the collection. What's up, Candy fam? My name is Nate, that's David, and this is the Talkin Candy weekly update. Each week, we take a dive into everything going on in the world of candy and give you an idea of what you need to be paying attention to. And while David and I each have collections of our own, none of this is financial advice. Please do your own research. We're just having a good time. David, it's been a few weeks. We've got a little bit of an announcement here, but how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back. Good to be talking candy once again.
It is. It is. We've got a lot to catch up on. We're going to talk through the the three different challenges, the play of the day challenges, the Titan challenges, and the icon challenges. We're also going to discuss the update on the version 1 of a loyalty program, as well as the unvaulted packs that are to come next week. But we also just wanted to announce that we are going to take a break from the weekly videos during the MLB offseason. Doesn't mean that there won't be videos on Talking Candy throughout the off season. They'll just be more sporadic and based on particular things happening. So we are going to shift away from the weekly videos for the time being, but you will still see us. We'll still be around. So just wanted to announce that at the top. But yeah, the let's start with the Titan challenges because these just finished up last week. It was a long process, and there were some highs, there were some lows, and I think it's time for us to decompress a little bit and talk about kind of what that process looked like and what we felt about it. So I'll pull up some of my Red Sox Titans. I've got all but one. I mistakenly did not mint a Trevor Story, and now I'm left with a very tough situation. There's currently one listed for $1,200, which is just slightly out of my budget. But yeah, so let's start with you. What's your knee jerk reaction to Titans, and what was your process like, and how did you think it all went?
So my knee-jerk reaction was that I think it more or less accomplished what it set out to. It gave people something to do with the leadoff set,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was the level one of what we needed from some type of event is just something. And because that set had such high mint counts, it was a good way to consolidate. It was a good way to take, 17 or 34 icons and turn them into one, compressing that coal into a diamond, as it were. And so, personally, my collection was ballooning out of control with the prices of the leadoff set, and being able to get that consolidation and get those higher rarity cards, I enjoyed that a lot, particularly getting as many of my giants as I could. As far as how it went, I think it went about as well as we expected it to. If you knew what you wanted, and early on when they announced the burning event, if you knew what you wanted and you bought pieces for those titans, you generally did pretty well. In some cases, very well, because we saw those later lineups get a lot more expensive to price out. Um, it's just unfortunate that there was such a disparity between lineups 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, and 3. Right? I mean, it worked out if you were going for guys from those lineups to begin with, or if you already had a substantial collection of players who happened to be from those lineups. But the reality was, they didn't sell as many leadoff packs as they wanted to, and it created that dynamic. And we, of course, recognized the supply issues. We recognized how that would affect the prices, and that's good. It's good to be able to take those factors and make an educated decision and make a game plan and work within that. But that doesn't mean the fact that that disparity exists was the best thing for Candy in general, right? The fact that three of the lineups cost significantly more than the others and ended up with significantly less Titans. It's interesting, and it's something to pay attention to and consider. But it's, I mean, if your favorite player happened to be from lineup 6, and if you weren't ready from minute 1 to be stacking them up, then you had to pay a lot more for your favorite player than someone from lineup 1 or 2. And so, you know, because we're so clued in to what was happening, we already had, you know, our players. I already had all my Giants because I was getting a full rainbow even before Titans were announced. You already had your Red Sox. Those wheels were already in motion, so it didn't catch us by surprise, or it didn't, you know, it didn't hurt us too much that it played out that way. But I could see it being a negative for people who weren't as prepared to be buying 17 copies of their favorite player instead of just the one.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed most of it there. The pros were that it was a fun distraction, and you and I both enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it, and we went at it from the angle of a sports fan. I did all the Red Sox except for Story. Got to figure that one out. You did all the Giants, and we both did a few others on top of it. You know, I've got a Buxton, I've got a Romano, I've got a handful of other ones that I liked, or of guys that I just happened to pull epics of, etc. And it also helped me clean up the collection, to your point. But that's almost like it is a backhanded compliment, right? Because there shouldn't have been a collection to clean up in the first place. It was a Band-Aid on a botched leadoff series drop in the first place. So I think that it was a great learning experience, and I think that burning is awesome. Like, I think that the concept of it is great. I think we're going to see a lot more of it, and I'm happy about that. We've seen it with the 22 All-Stars. We know that we're about to get new challenges, new burning challenges with the Unvaulted boxes that are about to come out, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. So love burning and love the concept of it. It's just unfortunate that we needed it to kind of just put camouflage on the fact that we ended up with a whole lot of junk in our collections, and that's just the reality of it. So, you know, your point about the different lineups, I think that one of the toughest parts about that is that, yeah, you and I knew what was going on, and a lot of people in the know knew what was going on. But I think that I'm sure that there were a lot of people that were confused by it, weren't sure why, a Cody Bellinger was as expensive as he was, and things like that, while other guys of relatively high interest were a lot cheaper or minting out super quickly. I know people that didn't get their Ohtani because he was so readily available, plus the demand, all that. So, and then I also think that the mint counts of All-Stars substantially overshadowed these Titans, and the timing of it all was unfortunate. And I think that's a pretty big bummer too, because I think that these Titans would have held greater value if, I don't know what the order of operations needed to be there, but I do know that when all of a sudden rares were out of 57, these Titans out of 100, it was kind of like, well, wait, what's the most desirable thing here? So, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Some of it is up to the collector. Some of it might come down to some of the loyalty program and rewards and things of that nature. I'm not exactly sure, but there was a lot of positive learning experience that came out of it. But, just in general, and this is not a hot take, but the leadoff series was a mess, and we got to the end of it here. We've got some cool Titans. I do think that the Titans are cool. The mint counts are low, especially with some of the guys from the later lineups. But also in a lot of cases, there were plenty of guys that it ended up being cheaper to just buy from the handful of people that were looking to sell it on airdrop day than to mint it yourself. So even as early as I was on Devers, he's still selling for less than what I spent to put those pieces together. Now, the Red Sox missed the playoffs. that changes things too. We did see, with the icon challenges, but not just that, also just people's emotions, that guys that ended up in the playoffs, guys that were performing in the postseason, those cards held their values or increased. So it is good to see that real baseball is continuing to impact these cards. That's nice. So I just happened to pick a guy that didn't make the playoffs. So that's the way it's going to go sometimes when you're, betting on individual players. I don't know.
Well, to your point about sometimes it being confusing with some players cost more than others. Like that OG bottleneck of the Titan set was Randall Grichuk,
Mm-hmm.
minting 46 in one of those first few weeks there, and that number has since been undercut. I believe Yastrzemski still ended up as the overall low with 43
Yeah,
mints.
he did.
Which is great for me because as a Giant, I had several coming my way already, so I can't complain about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see why others might. But yes, the order of things is confusing, and some things I don't understand why they weren't consistent. Because you mentioned the All-Star set came out for 2022, and that had lower mint counts than the Titans, and it kind of gives you some confusion about what should be valued which way.
Mm-hmm.
But then the All-Star set, it still had like lower core mints and lower uncommon mints than the leadoff set. And rather than being priced more similar to last year's All-Star set, people were pricing the newest lower mint count set as though it were still the same mint count or the same pieces as the leadoff set.
Mm-hmm.
Right? People who had 2,750 cores in the leadoff set were having their 377 cores from the All-Star set be priced exactly the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't really understand that. Like, how can something that's more rare, negatively affect the price of something like the Titans that had a higher mint count,
Mm-hmm.
but then also the thing with the higher mint count caused people to price the new, more rare thing the same as the less rare thing, if that makes sense. It's like, how did they both affect each other, but in the opposite way? I didn't see a consistency there.
Well, I know the answer is that we don't have collector score. So we continue to add new product, and you're adding it to this, we've got 6 different leadoff series lineup. They all have different distribution, which means that they all have different supply, which means that they're all going to be able to satisfy the demand uniquely. And it continues to lead. Most people are not paying attention the way that we are. And most people are not paying attention the way that people in Discord are. It's not just you and I, there's a niche group in Discord that's paying really close attention, and it's probably only 100 people. I don't know, 200, I don't know what the number is, but it's small. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that there isn't more of a framework to identify, like, okay, these rares out of 57 should not be flirting with the prices of the rares out of 500. It's a tenth of the supply, and yet I'm stacking JD Martinez rares for $9 each. And I know it's JD Martinez. I know he's probably not on the Red Sox next year. I know his career is coming down to the end here. But just in the grand scheme of rarity, and if we do get some type of collector score, that it just feels like these rares out of 57 are undervalued. And I could be totally wrong. They could never point anything towards that at all, and it might not matter. So who knows? But to me, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that there are $5 22 All-Star rares getting listed, even if they are relievers. That just shouldn't be available. So, but at the same time, it's the fact that there isn't the demand out there to satisfy the fact that we have a lot of different products. And I think just taking a look back at everything, like at this year of MLB products, we now have leadoff series, Cal Ripken boxes, Hall of Fame, All-Star, and now we're going to get these the Unvaulted with some additional inserts and things like that. They've all got, and Titans. We'll count that as its own unique thing too, right? So all different mint counts, all different supplies, and a lot of the ones with different supply look like in theory they should be the same. So it's a mess. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the framework of next year's leadoff series is, because that's when we're going to find out if Candy learned from its mistakes. Because we knew when we found out that they were theoretically going to be releasing 2.5 million leadoff series NFTs, that sounded aggressive after having launched, released just 75,000 icons with the 25,000 packs on the original drop. So it's a ton of information, and we've learned a lot. And it's not to say that there are not things that went well and that we haven't learned things, but the supply equation has just been a headache to keep track of, first and foremost. So we'll see where that ends up. We'll see what they do with that. And I like the other products that are being released. I like the challenges that are being built around it. I think that the play of the day challenges have been the best that they've done, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything you wanted to finish with on the leadoff series / Titans there before we jump into the other challenges?
Just because I'm still generally optimistic about the future of digital collectibles, just as a principle, just as something that I think will become more adopted, widespread. And it just kind of reminds me that decades ago, kids would take baseball cards and put them in the spokes of their bicycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they had no value, assumed or otherwise. They were just cool things that they traded amongst each other. And it's only the fact that so many of them got destroyed just because they were playthings, that the ones that remained grew more valuable and grew more rare over time. It wasn't something that happened in a year or even 5 or 10. It was that distance of time and that growth of them as a collectible that brought them to where they are today. And so I'm still optimistic, and hopefully this is something we look back on. And even as big as the leadoff supply was, we can be surprised maybe that it took so long for the community to be large enough to make it feel small.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because the bottom line is that if we get an influx of user base in the coming years, that these are still going to be low min counts. And so the upside is still there, and the supply is going to be set in stone by the end of this year, and then 5 years from now, who knows what the new demand is with a new user base. So I just hope that they find a way to continue to just balance the whole ecosystem. And I think that a loyalty program / collector score has a lot to do with that, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's jump into the icon challenges. We've had four different rounds for each of the rounds of the playoffs: Wild Card, Division, Championship, and World Series. The World Series challenge just dropped a couple hours ago, today on Tuesday the 8th. But basically, the way that these work, and we did touch on these a little bit a couple weeks ago, but there's a list of players that performed particularly well. They hit at least one statistical criteria of a list of criteria. It could be RBIs, home runs, saves, strikeouts, things of that nature. So the round would end. So the wild card round ended, and then you had 3 tiers that you could potentially collect. And so you needed to hit a majority of the list. The list on tiers 1 through 3 consisted of hitting uncommon or higher, rare or higher, and epic or higher on the 3 tiers. And then you would get an increase in reward at each tier. The rewards stacked. The rewards were leadoff packs from the later series, or the later lineups 3 through 6. 1 and 2 were already fully distributed, so those are the ones that were vaulted. So some of those had been set aside to be prizes. And so the premise Well, here, I'll show the rest of the graphics here. So division series, we see that we had an increased list and you didn't have to hit quite as high a percentage of it. And then for the championship series and the World Series, it started to shrink down, the World Series being the smallest. So you can see those numbers on the screen. You can pause it and take a look. But the pack rewards were 3, 4, and 5 for tiers 1, 2, and 3 in every round except for the first one. The wild card round, it was 1 decrease from that, so it was 2, 3, and 4. I love the format of these. So let's just start with the positive here, because we took into account real stats. You could predict it. If you were watching baseball, like somebody would hit a home run and you'd see a few of their rares get bought up right away. That was awesome. I was buying some of them. I was watching other people buying them. Some nights I wasn't buying anything. I was just enjoying watching the buy feed. As I know when Tucker hit 2 home runs, I went nuts. A bunch of other people went nuts. That's why I put that rare Tucker there. I thought that those rare all-stars, they were calling my name. So that was awesome. And we've talked about how we like that you don't have to hit the whole list. You just have to hit a majority of it. And, so the format of this was fantastic. Love it. Mm-hmm. The things that, and the other thing is that it's great for is anybody that's already a big collector, someone like yourself, right? The uncommon tier at each step of the way has only cost you a few bucks to round out the stuff that you've already had. And then you could decide if you wanted to do the rare. So that's great. So somebody that's already got a bunch of rares, got a bunch of epics, it's cool that they're getting rewarded for just having a big collection and that it makes sense for them to go buy the couple pieces that they need. I love that. Like, I'm not upset about that for 1 second. So that's really cool. But for somebody that didn't already have a big collection, somebody that maybe only had a couple, for me, I decided to do the wild card round, and I did it on the uncommon and the rare tier. I'll go back to that graphic real quick. So I did the 19 rares, and I did I had to add the 2 uncommons and ended up with the 5 packs. So to me, the problem here is that the prizes were weak, and I'm only comparing that to the play of the day prizes because the play of the day prizes were really cool. So the play of the day challenge, you were getting this unique new NFT based on plays or moments that had happened in that round that were the coolest. And so those have been small mint counts. They're holding high value. They were really, really cool rewards, and people responded well to them. And we're going to talk about that next. Meanwhile, for the icon challenges, we're receiving packs that were already kind of falling out of favor with people, packs that we know have a whole bunch of supply coming next week. And so after the wild card round, we saw a huge dip in leadoff packs, not just because there was an airdrop of all the packs, but also because we got the announcement about the vaulted packs coming out. So we ended up in a situation where it just wasn't that exciting to complete these, because what you were getting out of it, it was like I was more excited to get the rare cards than the packs themselves, because let's face it, ripping those packs, there's a lot of downside there too, and we already know that. So like I said, I love the design of it, and I had a ton of fun doing it. Like, I really did. I enjoyed it, just simply, just enjoying it as a collector. It was fun. But the prizes were weak. It left something to be desired. And then the last piece was that it was just a pretty big flop on integrating the 2021 cards. And I'm really hoping that they learn from that going forward. We needed to see something where, and I've already said this before, but I'll just say it again, and then I'll pass the baton. But, for something like tier 2, instead of it being rare or higher, it should have been, figuring out what that sweet spot is for each set. I love that they were using all the different sets, but maybe if it was a leadoff series rare it was a 22 All-Star uncommon and a 21 All-Star core, and any of those three would have sufficed to fit that role. So I would have, for example, I would have done the World Series challenge, the Tier 2 World Series challenge today, had my core 21s counted. I had a Presley, I had a Castellanos, plus I had my Tucker rare, I had, a couple other rares. So it could have added up to make sense for me to do that. But instead it was going to cost, $150 plus to round it all out and get a handful of packs that I feel like are just going to get heavily watered down when we get these big boxes of more leadoff series stuff next week. So that's my long-winded spiel. What's your take on this?
I agree with everything you said. Now, the point that you mentioned, though, that we've got that new supply coming for the 22 leadoff, that means if you are rounding out your sets, maybe don't look to leadoff, even if it's the cheapest right now. If you have a choice between a leadoff rare and an all-star rare, if there's not that much of a jump up in price to get the all-star rare, that might be safer because there's going to be a lot more leadoff rares coming very soon. But the all-star rares, if you're looking at the 22 all-stars, that's, even if it's a more expensive option right now, I would expect that it's going to hold its value better than the leadoff set. And I like that you mentioned that the format itself is fantastic. It's just the prize that's lacking. And so I hope Candy doesn't take the wrong message. Like, if there's not a huge participation in these challenges, I hope they don't write them off and do them less as a result of that. And I hope they recognize that it's just, the carrot at the end of the stick there. It just isn't enough to entice people to open up their wallets to finish those challenges. And I've been doing the uncommon tier because I either already had enough or I was very close. And I've been, shying away from the other tiers unless there were enough rares and epics at reasonable prices from either the Hall of Fame set or one of the All-Star sets. I've been avoiding dipping into the leadoff set to finish those challenges for exactly that reason.
Definitely.
I already have 630 out of 630 leadoffs, and a lot of them are cores. There's a good number of uncommons, but I just don't feel the need to expand my collection in that direction at this time. But making a play in one of those more limited sets feels more lasting. And so even if the prize is lackluster, those just more of the leadoff packs, at least the collection that I'm building to get the prize feels more substantial.
Yeah. I mean, excellent point. Like, that was some of the strategy that I used when I did the wild card round. I ended up with a handful of rare Hall of Fame cards that are in my collection now that I was happy to get. And to your point, like, let me just pull this up here. So this is the cheapest leadoff series rare Kyle Schwarber. It's $23. But this was in a later lineup, which means that these are going to go down next week. It could be cut in half. It could be a quarter. I'm not sure. But for $10 more, you can get this All-Star out of 57. So a tenth of the mint count, fully distributed for $33, or 500 mint count, filled with uncertainty. Who knows what happens with it for $23. In that situation, I'm for sure grabbing this $33 All-Star, and it doesn't really, it's just a tiny little concept, but this type of scenario, I'm sure, will play out in other challenges. So it's worth thinking about what you're buying beyond just the literal dollar amount, because I think that this rare Schwarber out of 57 holds up over time compared to the out of 500. So those are great points. So I think that's pretty much it on those. I'm really looking forward to seeing, I really hope that Candy does these icon challenges during the regular season next year. And this is the exact type of thing where we said all along, okay, maybe we can't do fantasy baseball, but this is really close to that. And it allows people that are watching baseball, paying attention to guys that are, accumulating stats. This is a variation of fantasy sports. Even if it's kind of simplified, it allows somebody that's paying attention to be ahead of the eight ball. And so, yeah, I hope that they do these more. I hope that they consider what the prizes might be. I mean, they're hopefully not going to have to deal with this leadoff series situation again. So there's a ton of potential here. And I was really, really tempted to do the World Series one today just to do it because I just wanted to. So even being bad prizes, I was really, really close to just being like, let's do it and see what happens. So I hope Candy elaborates on this. I hope that we get these challenges throughout the entire regular season next year. Truly do. So I hope they improve upon this process because I'm a huge proponent of it, and we've been asking for more challenges all along, and we have continued to love seeing the challenges that are getting put out. So let's jump into the last challenge here that we're going to talk about, which is the play of the day. And here we go. So we've got David's collection pulled up here, and this is the master play of the day collection, which you can verify on Serial Chaser. Obviously verify everything manually in your own collection to be sure, because you don't want to end up one shy. So definitely go in and do that manual process, but an awesome way to see what you have. As you can see, David is well underway here. So yeah, why don't you jump in and take the lead on this? I think that this has by far been the most well-designed set of challenges we've seen so far.
Yeah. So starting with the wild card round, Candy was on top of it with play of the days. They had a challenge set up where you needed both the older last year's play of the days from the playoffs, as well as some of the regular season play of the days for the playoffs, as well as some of the play of the days for the winning teams of this year's playoffs. And so it's like those three things, last year's playoff play of the days, something from this year, and something from this postseason. And collecting those would get you one of those chasers you see in front of you for each round of the playoffs. And so you've got the wild card chasers, the division chasers, the championship chaser, and now the World Series chaser is going to require all of the above. It's going to require all of the previous chasers, as well as each of the play of the days from the entire postseason. And so it's just kind of one of those things that's just been kind of feeding into itself, but in a positive way, and in a way where each of the prizes was something new and something unique to that series. And so I love this challenge. I've throughout the season just been getting one of each play of the day, or in some cases more, when it has a significance to me. But just this way to commemorate the postseason and the playoffs and just get rewarded incrementally. Even if you were just a Cleveland Guardians fan and you just wanted to focus on them and buy all of their play of the days, you still would have ended up with one of their chasers when they won a round of the playoffs. And so even if you're not going for everything, you would still have enough to complete your team's challenge. And that's fantastic. And the fact that so few people have done it has kept those met counts low, which just makes it feel all the more special to those of us who did. And I, regardless of what their price is, I'm still going to be holding mine because they're mine. I think I have an extra of one of them. I think the Padres, someone sold one pretty cheap, so I picked up a spare. But otherwise, these are my play of the days, and they're in my collection, and that's where they're going to stay. And I can't wait to see what the Master Challenge is going to look like for having everything. I'm sure most of the people who are going to go for that challenge are just going to be the people who have been keeping up since the beginning of the playoffs. I'm not anticipating too many people paying markup prices for these chasers to try and complete the full thing. But it's just been an example of something done right in the challenge space by Candy, and they hit this one out of the park as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the reward themselves are super cool. I mean, the play of the days are super cool. Just looking at this little collection of the 10 chasers, or 10 of them. Is a great design, and it utilized the 2021 product. We saw all of those prices spike and create liquidity on those, and it rewarded people that had been collecting play of the days all along, but it wasn't unachievable for people that hadn't. I personally am I love the icons. It's just where my focus is. I haven't stayed focused on the play of the day the way that you have, so I didn't personally complete these challenges. It's just, you can only do so much, but from the outside looking in, it just looks really cool, and it looks like the type of design that we should be striving for, because having those unique challenges, having those unique rewards just makes it really special. Whereas the packs that you got for the icon challenges are just packs that you either flip to pay for the cards that you acquired, or you rip them and then it's kind of just forgotten. So to have these to round out the commemoration of this season as a whole, and to anybody that was collecting the whole season of play of the days, it was just really nice cherry on top of the whole thing. So can't wait to see what that final master reward is. I'm sure that it's going to be cool. I'm sure they're going to come up with something cool. But yeah, that's challenges. That's we've come a long way from begging for challenges. Really, really satisfied over these last couple of months to see that this has become such a huge priority for Candy, and I've enjoyed taking it all in, participating in some of it, hearing people's conversation about it, and I think that it only is going to be improved upon as we move into next year with so much knowledge gained and so much room to improve upon everything. So great foundation, and I hope that we continue to see new elements moving forward. Anything else that you want to touch on challenges before we move ahead here?
No, I think we hit it all pretty well.
Okay. So let's see here. We're going to talk about the unvaulted packs, but let's quickly just discuss the loyalty program update. So basically I'll pull open what was the roadmap. So as you can see, in early fall, down the bottom features, we were supposed to see Candy Loyalty Program version 1 and Engagement Rewards version 1. We don't exactly know what either one of those things mean. We are getting some hints now. We did receive an announcement a few days ago that this was not going to happen in early fall, which we all figured out on our own. But basically, I wrote down some bullets. It was a fairly substantial update, or it was multiple paragraphs, larger than what we usually see. But so first of all, it's being delayed to late fall, early winter, even though it was supposed to be early fall. The final details are going to be announced 3 weeks from, this announcement was on 11/3, so probably in about 2.5 weeks we should have final details on it all. But the things that we're supposed to be seeing, things that are coming, are on-site collection challenges, more burning, a reward system. I think having everything on site is a big piece of it. So like calendar of events was mentioned in terms of the engagements, the snapshots, and the different challenges, having that all mapped out, somewhere on the Candy website. That desperately needs to be there. So it's good to see that they're prioritizing that. And then we are going to have a new burning challenges with these vaulted icons, which it referenced that these burning challenges will be paired with high-end engagement rewards. Don't know what that means. And then it also refers to the fact that Candy wants to reward top spenders, and that this is in quotes, a unique metric will be incorporated for net spend over time. That one scares me a little bit, because I think that I hope that that's just a part of it, right? I hope that that's just a
Mhm.
piece of it, because I don't think that net spend, I don't think people should be punished for acquiring a better entry point on something, right? So like
Mhm.
anybody could go buy a really expensive card right now that's way over market value. I don't think they should necessarily be rewarded for that just because they're spending a lot of money with candy. Um, so certainly people that are, whales should be rewarded. I don't disagree with that at all, right? These are huge, huge players in a niche company, in a tough economy. You know, those people should be given reasons to stick around. Don't get me wrong. So certainly have that be part of it. But there was no reference to like the cards having different values or differentiating between the different sets and play of the days and stuff like that. So I really hope that we're going to value people's collections and not just the
Mhm.
money that they spent on the collection. We need some type of ecosystem to define why a leadoff series rare out of 500 is worth less than an all-star out of 57. That needs to be part of it. So again, it's still a really vague announcement. We still don't know much, and we will find out in a few weeks. And I'm sure we'll record something when that happens. But yeah, we were hoping to have this sooner. We were hoping to have this right away. It was the marquee item in that early fall list,
Mhm.
and now I understand that if it just wasn't ready, that it could have been worse to release it prior to being ready. So stuff happens. I get it. I'm not complaining that we don't have it yet. It's not like we needed this imminently. We're at the end of the season anyway, so better to get it right. But
Mhm.
I hope that it implements different elements. I hope that it doesn't just have to do with spending.
Well, and when you talk about total spend too, if I were to buy, if I were to spend way too much on something worth not that much
Mm-hmm.
on the marketplace, that's not even money that Candy's getting, at least not most of it,
Right.
So I would think if you're talking about net spend, you'd be talking more about those primary purchases, right? Someone who bought a bunch of packs from Candy directly,
But there's no
not
net.
someone.
There's no net on that, right? Because there's nothing to. There's no credit.
Well, but you could net, like you could subtract, like if I don't know, let's say you bought 10 packs and you sold 8 of them, right, on the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
You could be subtracting what you made from selling packs from what you spent. And so you might end up not even having a net spend if you profited enough on what you sold versus what you kept and opened for yourself, right?
which
And so maybe,
which would be a shame if people were punished for that, right? Like I don't know,
yeah.
but there's a lot of different ways to be involved in this space, right? It's you know I enjoy playing the game of using the ecosystem to pay for other things in my collection. That's part of the whole thing. So if people are finding a way to grow a substantial candy collection by leveraging the ebbs and flows of the market, those people are valuable to this ecosystem too. There needs to be constant buying and selling for there to be an ecosystem.
Right, and I like that word grow because sometimes when I'm trying to identify, a play to profit on, I feel like I'm planting seeds that can then grow and then be used to purchase something that I really want,
Mm-hmm.
right? When something pays off, when I make a play that succeeds, it's like, oh, great, I have more candy balance than I did before because of this thing I did. I'm going to buy another Buster Posey
Right.
because I want another one, right? And so but it's just using the proceeds from some of these other plays and
Right.
all the while
You're
causing more,
sorry,
yeah,
I was
more
just gonna say I agree with you. Like you're using a product that isn't of substantial interest to you in order to put more money into the stuff that you are interested in. Your Giants, my Red Sox. Like I'm not spending that money on candy. I am. I'm moving it around so that I can put it into the stuff that I care most about.
hmm And I know it's not a stock market, so we can't look at it as just being exactly like that, where you want to buy low, sell high, and then reinvest. And it has those elements, but it isn't exactly you know like a typical stock exchange in that way. But because it has those elements, there's going to be people like us who want to identify the trends and make the most of them
Hmm.
in a way that will allow us to collect what we want, as best we can.
Yeah. But at the same time, I've made plenty of emotional purchases that were not the smartest when it has been based around a Red Sox card or a product that was of so like
Mhm.
I've been the one buying the expensive thing from somebody that's flipping it too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it goes both ways. So but also I'm not judging anybody that's just here to flip. Like that's part of baseball cards. So if you're doing that, that's fine. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing both. I'm just it's the whole ecosystem, but I don't appreciate anybody that's judging anybody for how they want to exist in this space because in order for there to be a functional market, we need buyers and we need sellers and we need people that are identifying, you know, what is undervalued and what is
Mm.
overvalued and all of that. So to each their own. Enjoy it how you want to enjoy it, regardless of what angle that's from. But I enjoy growing my collection through, doing that wild card round challenge, selling some of those packs to make the money back, and getting left with these rare Hall of Fame icons of Ozzie Smith and Tom Seaver that I wouldn't have otherwise had. I just kind of ended up with them because I was playing the game. And so now I ended up with some cool cards as a byproduct of it. So that's where I stand on that. Um, Anything else on that?
Just to mirror what you said, I hope the scope of the collection matters too. Um, Speaking for myself, I'm sure that I still have a good amount of spend that would be factored into that.
Hmm.
But I agree that shouldn't be everything.
Yeah.
But at this point, we just don't know enough about what they're planning and what their focus is on. We just hope that they're looking at the full picture to determine, what constitutes loyalty and you know, what should be qualified for getting rewarded.
Hmm. Absolutely. So the last piece here that we wanted to touch on is the unvaulted icon packs. So these have been a looming cloud for a long time. Uh, they're finally coming. But I will give Candy a ton of credit that they did listen to the community and they waited until the season was over. They waited till Titan Burning was over and they allowed what had been established as a supply for lineups 3 through 6 to maintain for the rest of the season. And so that was great. And people were able to, first of all, we were just able to see what that market might look like with a supply that was more in line with the demand. So seeing those packs sell at only 12,000 units, 15,000 units, that was a nice case study for us, but I'm sure for Candy as well. And I'm sure that will impact their decisions in terms of volume, quantity with the next leadoff series. But we are going to see these. So just to kind of take a step back here, for anybody that, if you're just getting here, if you're just finding out about this, there was a substantial volume of lineups 3 through 6 packs from the leadoff series that did not sell at retail, did not sell on the primary offering. So those were all vaulted. Those have since been opened by Candy. The cores have all been put into team-specific packs that can be purchased for $10 each, and those come with 4 cores of that given team. So $10 for 4 Red Sox cores. So there will be no cores in any of these packs or boxes that are coming out next Wednesday, the 15th. And so the way that these are going to work are, and we don't have price points yet, those are soon to come, but you can either get a mega pack, a box, or a super box. A mega pack is going to have 10 leadoff icons as opposed to the 5 that we saw in the original packs. All 3 of these versions, uncommon is the lowest tier. In the mega packs, that are just going to be individual packs with 10 leadoff icons. You cannot get a legendary. The rarities are uncommon to epic, and those are the only options. But you can get the new rookies and traded players in those. The new inserts that we've seen getting posted on Discord, which I guess I should have pulled up some graphics there, but it's fine. There's going to be a few different versions of this. So we've got things like the double play series where you've got a player having a hitting highlight and then it shifts and then they catch the ball on themselves. So like J-Rod hits a ball to center field and then J-Rod catches it. So there's like half a dozen of those. We've got 2 rookie, 2 retired with Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina. So those are, I'm sure, going to be in high demand. And there's a couple other different types of inserts too. And then, as I stated, there are going to be some rookies and traded players in the traditional leadoff series format. So the inserts are going to be very new looking. There's some that like almost kind of like old patch cards. They've got the ball that the player hit, and then it becomes like a ball that's on the card that's kind of like protruding out of it. Mm-hmm. You can check these all on Twitter. They were all posted by the Candy account. But so these inserts are going to be part of these boxes. And so the 2 different versions of these boxes are both going to come with a substantial volume of cards. So the regular box is going to be 8 packs of 10 leadoff icons. So you're looking at 80 cards total, chance at an insert, and a chance at legendaries, as well as a 33% chance of getting a hot pack. And the hot pack is going to contain only epics. So it's going to be an entire pack of 10 epics. Although I'm not sure if it's referring to the hot pack of 25 epics, which is what we see is guaranteed you will get one of in the super box. So the super box is 10 packs times 25, so 250 icons, chance at an insert, chance at legendary, and you will be guaranteed a hot pack that's going to have 25 epics in it. So I'm not sure if the box, the 33% chance of getting a hot pack would be a 10 card epic or a 25 card epic. I'm not sure if that's been identified, but cool that there's a chance of hitting one of those in the smaller box.
I would assume 10.
I would think so too, but you never know.
Yeah, but it's difficult. We'd have to crunch the numbers just to see how many epics are still out there and how many they could have made.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we're also waiting for clarification on is it doesn't say with a chance of legendary on the super box. It says uncommon to legendary. So some people are taking that to mean that you might get a legendary in each super box. We just don't know how many super boxes they're going to be.
Right.
And they could clarify it. It could simply mean that it's got a chance the same as the icon boxes.
Right.
But there are still a lot of legendaries out there for that leadoff set. And so it could just be that they're going to be heavily stashed in those super boxes. We just need more info. Need to find out more.
Yeah, just like off the top of my head, 250 cards doesn't sound like enough to have a legendary in each one. I don't remember exactly what the ratios were, but it's certainly possible. The way that I interpreted it was that the icon box, a chance of a legendary, I was reading into that as being like a small chance, whereas the super box would have a really good chance, kind of similar to kind of what we saw with the epics in the Hall of Fame stuff or the 22 All-Star stuff, things of that nature. So just higher percentage chance, or a substantially higher percentage chance even. So, but I doubt that it's guaranteed, but who knows? I agree that it's going to be really interesting to see not only how many are available, particularly of the super boxes, but also the price point. I cannot imagine that these are going to be cheap, but I also can't imagine that there's going to be a huge demand for people to spend a ton of money on leadoff icons. That being said, there are going to be burning challenges that come with these. They have teased the high-end engagement rewards attached to this, whatever that means. So it's possible that they have something up their sleeve that's going to drum up enough interest and hype that people are going to buy these. I hope they do. I hope they do. I'm jaded to the leadoff series at this point. It's not something that brings me particular interest, but we also have a lot of questions that remain unanswered in terms of what this is all going to look like. So I could easily change my tune a week from now if they do something really cool. So I do think that inserting the rookies and the traded players is a cool idea. The inserts are cool. Interested to see what the mint counts are on those. I hope it's low. But yeah, a lot of unanswered questions, but we are a mere 7 days away from it.
Well, and as we're talking, they did just post an update on
Did they?
Discord about
Okay.
the Vaulted series.
Okay.
They wanted to confirm that they're going to be posting a checklist as well as odds on the Vaulted series this Thursday, November 10th. And says, but that's not all. We'll also be sharing additional details on our exciting burn challenges. So, it'll be tomorrow by the time you're watching this, or it could be, it could have already happened depending on when you see this.
Mm-hmm.
But Thursday, November 10th, we should know more about the odds and those burning challenges. And it says they're not going to share the price point until Monday, November 14th. I would have preferred to have that information sooner because it's releasing on the 15th, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
So that's only a day to really decide if the price is something that's going to be worth it. But yeah, they're still getting that information out there for us, even right now as we speak.
Cool. So I mean, no matter what, I'm sure next Wednesday is going to be an exciting day to be paying attention to the marketplace. I have no idea what angle I'm going to play it from. I don't know. Like, I'm not really interested in adding a bunch of leadoff icons to my collection, but at the same time, the super box sounds intriguing. Not if it's $1,000, but we'll see.
Right.
We'll see what it costs because it's a cool concept. The hot pack is a cool concept. The inserts, an increased chance at a legendary. We'll see. We'll see what it ends up being, and how we end up feeling about it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the challenges. That's the stuff that's going on. We're heading into the off season here. I don't know what do you have any general thoughts? You have any plays that you're making? You have any general approach to these next few months as we have no baseball?
Well, I mean, as far as the unvaulted supply, I'm going to need them to give me a reason to get more as opposed to just buying 50-cent cores off the marketplace. If I need them to burn for something,
Mm-hmm.
At this point, they need to give me a reason to pay more than the floor price, because I still have extras. If I need to burn for something, I might already have enough to play around with that. And so if they give me a reason to go back for more, then I might. But I'm going to need to see that reason, either this Thursday or next Monday to compare what the burning is going to be with the price. I'm still playing around with the Sweet Futures football. I've been collecting some of those. But as far as baseball, I've picked a few guys that I'm just stacking up and tucking away. And that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a couple discrete plays, hold on to them, presumably long term, and see what happens to their values from there. But I really like the 22 All-Star sets in terms of their price versus their mint count. That feels like an untapped opportunity. And so that's kind of where my focus has been on that 22 All-Star set. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind year of baseball NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd have asked me in January what we were in store for, I would not have believed it. I wouldn't have foreseen the leadoff set being as oversaturated as it was. I wouldn't have foreseen all the steps that were taken to kind of counteract that. And, even just the progress in these recent months as they've found their groove in these challenges and these events that they've been, keeping us engaged with. It's been some negative, but a lot of positive. And, yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to happen next year too.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have, at least the way that I'm prepping for the next couple months, is that I think there's going to be a lot of buying opportunity because the economy continues to be bad, could be getting worse. and you add that to the fact that we are going into the off season, which traditionally November, December, January is when you want to be buying baseball cards, like traditional baseball cards. That's the time to be buying, and then you sell when people start, remembering again, or you're holding it at a better entry point. But right now is when people are paying attention to the other sports. Football, basketball, and hockey is what is going to be on people's minds right now. So I think that we'll continue to see prices dip. I think that it doesn't mean that everything will dip at the same, quantity ratio, whatever you want to call it. But I definitely think that there's going to be good opportunity to buy some cool cards throughout the off season. And so I'm just going to be patient and cherry pick along the way. I've got some guys that I've been stacking, same as you. But, I think the one thing is that we just don't know what, how similar to real cards this is going to be. I do believe that there's going to be a substantial buying opportunity here with the attention off of it, but whether or not the season coming back bounces things, forward, which sets appreciate, I'm not sure. I agree with you. I think that the All-Star stuff with really low mint counts at affordable prices are really intriguing. The 22 All-Star stuff, I think Titans continue to be intriguing, especially debut cards and things like that. I think that thinking about badges that are inevitably going to be added, guys that, Goldschmidt and Judge are going to probably have MVP badges. There's going to be guys that win Cy Young, Silver Slugger, Gold Gloves. Like, do all of those get badges? I don't know, but they could. So it's things like that I'm going to be paying attention to. There's a lot of stuff that is getting undercut. Titans are undervalued, or I shouldn't say undervalued. I have no idea. But Titans are getting undercut because of all the confusion of the hierarchy of everything. And so you have to make a play that's exciting to you, and definitely collect players that you like and teams that you like, because you just never know. And that has certainly eased the pain on any bad moves that I've made when it's a Red Sox player, because it's like, oh well, at least I have some more Red Sox in the collection. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity in the coming months. So I'm looking forward to just being patient. I've got some candy balance ready, and we'll see what that looks like along the way. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun, David. We've fizzled out a little bit at the end here. We've been sporadic, and this is kind of the end of an era here with doing the weekly update. But I've had a lot of fun doing this with you every week. I appreciate the energy and the preparation that you have brought each week. I appreciate you keeping me honest. I know that there are plenty more weeks that I would have skipped if I didn't have a partner in crime. So thank you. I'm glad that you commented on that YouTube video back in February, and it's cool that I think this is the 32nd episode that we've done, and I know that we will continue to create more things together. But in this version of the Talkin Candy weekly update, it's been a ton of fun. So thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for responding and graciously allowing me to join you in this venture. And it's been incredible. We've had great conversations with collectors, with baseball players. It's not something I particularly saw coming. And I was just someone engaged with candy and looking for a way to kind of express that in terms of the data and analytics that I try and bring to it. And this has been a great way to do that, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff Rathgaber, Jordan Romano, Ross Stripling, Uzman, Reasonable, all the guests, everybody in Discord that have been helpful along the way, and all the input. It's been a ton of fun. And most importantly, thank you to everybody that has watched these videos. It's been cool to have an audience. It's been cool to read and respond to the comments and have people ask questions. And, we're all just enjoying this product together. So thank you for watching. And that's it. My name is Nate. That's David. This is the Talkin Candy weekly update, and we'll see you guys soon.